Hi, my name is Lori. Welcome to my channel. We are quilters. Today we are going to do Honey's special double binding. Honey is a woman that I met at quilt camp years ago, and she is a fantastic quilter. She says that quilting saved her life and gave her purpose, and she is wonderful at it. So let me show you Honey's special double binding. It is amazing and it is easy. Come on, let's try it. Here is a sample that I made up from one of those little practice squares from months ago when I was doing the machine quilting. Isn't that cute? It takes 2 strips. The wider strip that is the little accent strip is 2 inches and the other strip is 1.5. Sew them together, right sides together. There's the block that I am binding as practice to show you. You remember that one? There's my binding sewed together. I press it toward the shorter strip, and then I press it just like you do a binding in half, because I do double fold binding. There you can see the little accent strip is the wide strip, the gray. This one I'm folding over because it's a smaller project, and I'm doing it that way. And then I fold it back over so I can tuck it in later. I'm attaching it onto the back, working my way around to that little fold, clipping the corners so that there's less bulk in the corners, just to make it easier to turn out. Not a problem. Cleaning up my mess there. Oh, look at that. You'll notice that the gray was facing out. The accent was facing out. And we are sewing from the back and turning it to the front. I'm pinning just to get myself started here. You can either sew a stitch in the ditch or along the outside edge. Either way, it looks beautiful. And here are both examples. Now for the big project. You remember the little donation quilt that I had on the board several times? Well, here it is on the machine, and I'm going to do some sped up quilting on the machine just so you can see some fast-paced quilting. It is quilted very simply because it is a very simple block. There's the quilting. I ran out of thread, so one of my loop-de-loops is missing, but very simple. And I used a pink variegated thread, so it shows up better in some places than others, but very sweet and very simple. There it is all over, but it's not trimmed. I think the big aha moment is right here where it's trimmed out and ready for the binding to put on. I found some of this fabric I'm going to use for binding. Yes, it does say copyright 2000. The wide fabric is the accent fabric. Hint, hint, hint. So, the accent fabric is the purple butterfly fabric. You will only see 1/4 of an inch of it when we are all done. The swirly purple fabric is the actual binding that you will see a lot of. Hint, hint. And away we go. First of all, we need to sew the strips together to make one big strip of each color. So I sew the ends together on the bias across from corner to corner, and I let that strip hang out because I'm going to cut it off anyway. Here they all are, all 10 strips, 5 of each sewn together. And where the corner is, I need to trim that mess away. So I cut it off and throw it in the scrap bin. Time to press those seams open on that binding on both colors so that they lay nice and flat. This makes it easier later when you are sewing the binding down. So I'm sewing the strips, sewing the strips, sewing the strips, sewing the strips. I think this is the hardest part of the binding. Just keep that in mind. It's always amazing how, even though they're the same size strip, they come out different lengths. You need to press the 2 pieces open toward the small side, and then you are going to press the binding just like you would normal double fold binding. so that there is that little accent strip. There's a piece laying so it's flipped and you can see the back and the front. I wound it all onto a piece of cardboard so it's easier to deal with. Now it's time to apply the binding. As you're putting the binding on, remember you're leaving about a 9-inch tail or so, and I lay it up there and pin it on so you're in the middle of a side of your quilt. Notice that the accent, the part that you're only going to see the little tiny piece of, is the part that is facing up towards you. Remember, we're sewing it on the back, and then we're going to flip it to the front to sew it down. So I'm just working my way along, and I'm going to do a quick review of the corners when I get there. So I'm close to the corner. I put a pin in 1/4 inch away from the corner so I knew where to stop. Pull out my pin before I hit it, sew off the corner. I take it out of the machine. I flip it up, flip it straight and square, stick it back under. Do not cut my threads, because when I trim the corners at the end, I'll do that. Here I pin to make that continuous binding. Here I am at the very end where I've done my corner trick, and oh, it worked out perfectly. So I have the continuous binding. That is back in one of my other videos if you need to review it. It is very easy stuff, and once you do it a couple times, easy. So now I am putting the binding down on the front. I'm sewing along the edge. It is beautiful, working out well. At this point, it's more adjust and stuff and adjust and stuff. You'll notice I have to stop every couple of inches to get things straight. This is not hard. Matter of fact, this is even more forgiving than regular binding sewn on the front. Because, like I said earlier, you have two choices. You can either edge stitch or you can stitch in the ditch as you pull it over. And it's a little wider than normal regular full binding. So you could do fancy things here. You could do fancy stitches down that little accent. You could put lace poking out from under that little accent. It's amazing the looks that you can get from just adding that little flange. And here's the review from the how to put it on the front. Oh, there I'm waving around my stiletto. Gosh, I love it. You could use a pin for this too, but I do love my stiletto. One hand crank, and then I turn it with the needle down, and stuff and fluff, stuff and fluff. It turned out very cute, if I must say so myself. Lots of little swirlies and things in the corner. And look at that double flanged binding. Oh, fantastic. Stay tuned for some vitamin D. We all need it this time of the year. I keep thinking about my poor friends in Oregon and Washington and the western part of the United States. Oh, we all need some of this.